ladies. Hope you're all doing well. I have a question for you. When you grew up, did anyone talk about purpose? Did anyone reference you need to figure out your purpose in life? Or did you explore that later on?
No, for me, it was never discussed. Um, it was never thought of. It was when you were in high school, what are you going to do after high school? What's your career going to be? What is those type of discussions? But the thought of who and what legacy I wanted to be and what type of person I wanted to be, and when I leave this earth, what do I want to leave? Like, what do I want to leave this earth? Hopefully. No, there was never any type of discussion about that. Never.
Oh,
I
you
thought about it later in life. Tracy?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It wasn't like a subject of, discussion so much. I know that when I started to get more into self-help, that question would come up in books and I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. What does this mean? And I can remember having like amazing conversations with my dad, about what purpose was or what he thought his purpose was, etc. And he'd always kind of like rib me about being so philosophical, but I really think it's a something that we don't talk about even in later life. But I would agree with you, Michelle, it's something that we tend to, I think, as our as our mortality starts to become more evident, I think it's something that we start to think about more so. But I'm wondering if we aren't missing a huge opportunity to help our younger people into understanding that perhaps we're here for a reason, that we're there is a purpose that we are here for, and to our purpose is to discover what that is. Part of the purpose is to discover what that is, and hopefully leave here knowing that the world is a little bit better because you've been here.
It's funny now that I was thinking back as we were talking, Tracy, as my stepdad was passing, and he knew he only had like a month or two to live. He felt he fulfilled what he was supposed to do in life.
Awesome.
And that was to leave an inheritance for his children. That was his role. His role was to care for his family and to leave an inheritance for his children. That was his what his role was. And I wonder how many people thought of that in those generations. We've talked a lot in our past episodes, some of the things on how we've been brought up and because that's the way things were done. And that's, the thought processes of the generation of our parents and our grandparents. And again, we're not bashing any of those generations, but if I remember of my grandmother grew up in the Depression era. So most likely there was no inheritance left. And now then their children wanted a better life. So now they built an inheritance. And to their minds, that was their purpose, was to do these passing downs of things. And I think I agree, Tracy, is purpose to me is much more broader.
But so we're all into helping ourselves, like being a better person. Do you think, you mentioned age, do you think age is what triggered you to look more into purpose? Do you think it was people around you, or do you think it is based more on the profession that you've chosen to go down at this point in your life that made you look at what your purpose is in life? Because I agree with you, Tracy, that I don't think, and I think Michelle, you mentioned it too, a lot of people look at that. What is the reason I'm here? But when did y'all start thinking about that?
I remember reading a Stephen Covey book, and that's what he talks very much about that in his books. And I was just like, wow, this is like really interesting. Like, I wonder why. And I remember wondering why nobody ever talked about it. It's like, is it a taboo subject or what? Like, why don't we talk about this? And I think it's because it stirs up feelings of uncomfortableness because we think we need to have an answer. And I'm not so sure that that's necessarily correct either. I mean, maybe it takes, years and years and years and years to figure out what that is. But I just think that it's worth the thought to introduce that to people who are younger, to have them, possibly have different aha moments through their life to think, maybe this is what my purpose is. Maybe this is what I was destined to do. Maybe this is why I'm here on the planet. It's for this reason, right? Because otherwise we float through our days where, we get up and we do, and we, take care of the kids and, go to work and do the things. And
Mhm.
then we're exhausted and we go to bed, and then we get up and repeat the whole same thing. And it's just kind of a floating through life as opposed to purposefully being there.
And I think
If
it
that
also
makes
helps
sense.
for younger people identify that tug, maybe that internal, that gut feeling like I'm being drawn to this, but society and everything else tells me I should go this way. And if
Yeah.
we talked about, well, maybe that tug is your purpose or your journey to finding your purpose.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tracy G, I like the way you just said that. It's a journey. It is a journey to find your purpose. You don't, to me, you asked like, where did you find it? Was from a person, self-help, like whatever. I want to say it was all, it was everything. It was just starting to open my eyes and opening up the word purpose. And it's a journey. And I think when I look at the word purpose, I also look at the word intentional. Because if you know how you want to be, what you want to give back to this earth or to your time on this earth, then you become very intentional in what you do. So purpose is to me, purpose is, you might be a young mom with children right now. So you can't go out and save the world like you want to, because you have a responsibility of caring for your children. And that is your purpose at this second in your life of your journey. But your purpose, if you're wanting to leave the earth happier, more inclusive, more forgiving, then you start acting the way you want to leave this earth, like how you want to be remembered, how you are doing. So because you might be in because the three of us are at different stages and seasons in our life, if you asked me when my children were small what was my purpose, right then and there I'm telling you it was not to have two running boys running around the house trying not to kill each other. My purpose was to keep them safe and to make half my family, but I think thinking of your purpose and understanding what you want your purpose to be, the journey of it, then you can start doing things intentionally towards that.
I have a friend who, and it's interesting, you mentioned inheritance earlier on, and he's in his 50s, and all his life he's done these things to create a protective environment for his family, but he never really thought of it that way. And it's just lately he's had this aha moment going, hey, I'm in my 50s and I'm trying to figure out what my purpose in life was or is. And he said, is to protect my family. And everything he does financially, every choice he makes is to protect his family and make sure his family has his legacy. And I just find that interesting, just what we've just talked about, that he has his aha moment in his 50s. He already knew deep down what it was for him, and it was to make sure his family is protected.
And how has he been acting that way before he even had the aha moment. You know, like I think sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to get this big light bulb moment and then I'll be able
Mhm.
to go on that path. But a lot of times you have already been on that
Yeah.
path.
Then that's what it is. He was already doing the steps, but then the aha moment went, oh, what am I doing? I'm doing, and there's quite a few big changes coming up for him that he's just gone, this all aligns to my purpose. And,
Wow.
your purpose does not have to be saving the world.
No,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't have to be saving the world. Your purpose is, I want to be kind. I want to be a kind person.
Mhm.
That's a beautiful purpose. It's what it follows. You follow your heart. What makes you happy with that? You know, a purpose does not mean you have to leave an inheritance to your children. That's not your purpose in life. You might not be able to do that, but you can leave this earth with giving other people, your children, family, whomever it is, so much more that has nothing to do with monetary.
So what would you suggest for younger people then? If you're saying it would be nice to get them to think about their purpose. What tools or what questions would you start getting them to think about or ask themselves?
I think just the awareness that that thought can exist, and how does that thought in your life change how you decide to show up every day?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's just it's one of those, I often think, boy, I it would have been great to have some of those dinner discussions. You sit around at the family dinner and say, hey, listen, let's talk about something really heavy duty. What do you think your purpose in life is? And just like, and everybody goes, oh my God, like this is really heavy. But you know what? You've already just created a little bit of awareness there
Exactly.
just by asking that question. It's like,
Yes.
even if nothing comes of that conversation, it's like, oh,
I love
that's
that. I
interesting.
love that thought process because I was trying to look for it before. There is an episode Mel Robbins does. And I was trying to find the number, but there's, every person that is born into this earth is a special person. And you have the ability to do and to whatever you're driven to your purpose to be. And it's I'd love that question to sit around and ask somebody. I don't care how old that person is. What is your purpose? Just to start and have that conversation. Because I forgot who said it. I think Tracy G, you did. Sometimes people just get up and go through the day without even noticing the day. Like, how many times have people said, and I have said this to myself too, oh, where'd the day go?
Mm-hmm.
Because you weren't paying attention. You were in a robotic motion of doing something, Or have you ever said, wow, that went by fast. I had such a great time, whatever it was. Then you're present in that and you have a memory and but if you're going through the day just to go through the day, there's a time to sit and think of what you want your purpose to be. And it doesn't matter your age at all. None.
And I just want to add that I don't think it also means that we have to be present every minute of the day, because that would be exhausting to
It would.
try and live that way. I mean,
Yes.
you'd never get through it. But I think every once in a while, just well, when the kids are young, to throw out that kind of question to say, here's a fun one. It's game night. Let's talk about this
Yeah.
before we talk about what's all the red things you can find in the room. It's like, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just fun. It's just fun. It can be fun. It doesn't have to be heavy.
Yeah.
But just creating that awareness, I think, is like, oh, there's a purpose. I didn't know that.
And
Yeah.
how exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
It's
you
like,
can make
okay.
oh, I'm here for a reason. Let's
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah.
Yes.
and not to be
Absolutely.
afraid when they say, well, what are you here for? No, I don't know. To be able to say, I'm on that same journey. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a purpose different times in my life.
Yep.
Sometimes my purpose is to get dinner on the table.
Yeah.
No, but really, then it becomes like a more intentional way, like you said. It's like, okay, there is purpose to what it is we are doing, because there is. Like on a more philosophical level, there really is. And if it's simply just being kind to people, how beautiful would that be if we all just did that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a perfect purpose. Like it is. It's whatever it is. Yes. You know, I worry because, and I'm not anything against your friend Tracy and nothing against my dad, but if head of households, because there's male and female heads of household, feel their purpose is to leave a legacy of monetary inheritance to their children, are they missing parts of their children's lives?
No, he was protection, that he is setting
Yep.
them into a safe environment to
And
allow them to flourish. That's how
that's
he saw it.
beautiful.
So
That's
he's not looking
beautiful.
like, here's your
Yeah.
money. He's looking
Yes.
like, what do we need to put in place to make my family continue on, build their legacy? Like it was, you know, the way I articulate things can be really crappy. It was beautiful.
No,
From his point
And
of
I
view.
love that.
And
I love that. I can't say that about my stepdad. You know what I mean? Like I would have preferred maybe more one-on-one time with them than receiving the money. But I digress. We're not getting into family dynamics.
that's for another episode.
But Tracy G, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I just think it's interesting. I'm not sure still if we're it's being as exposed as much as I would hope, but it definitely was not conversations when I was growing up. And I think it's lovely that it is now kind of, you know, again, getting out of yourself, that it's not just, it is about you, but it's not just about you. And that's pretty, you know, that could be pretty cool.
So I think we should pose that question and challenge our viewers to ask that question to either their children, their partner, their spouse, family members, the next holiday get together, like something. And we would love to hear how the outcome of that conversation went. If you want to put it down into the comment section, we'd love to hear about it, because I know for the three of us, we have a passion with our purpose. That's a tongue twister, but I can honestly say, I am actually going out to Vermont next month, and I'm going to sit and have that conversation with some people. I am. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications. And if there's ever a topic you would love us to kind of chit chat about, you can also put that down there in the comments. But if you do have this conversation, we would love to hear how it turned out and what some of the verbiage was around it. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.